Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Days of Our Lives for July 8th to 12th marks the end of an era for the former NBC, now Peacock soap opera. Read on and watch the preview below. Bobby baited Jada last week, saying he might assist her solve a crime. Coming up, Jada informs Bobby that they know who killed Lee. Bobby smugly replies, "No, you don't." The Spectator already knows from flashbacks that Connie killed Lee, but how can Bobby know this? Gabby announces at her press conference following her exoneration for killing Lee that EJ is not Jude's father, but Eric is. Nicole looks to EJ and inquires, "Is this true?" When he remains mute, she cries, "Say something." In Salem, Jack is stunned when Chad discloses his desire to exhume Abigail's body. In the following scene, they watch as her casket is dug up. This could support Clyde's allegation that Abigail is alive, but only if the casket is empty. As the festival comes to an end, Marlena and Leo watch fireworks, or something explosive, on television. Gabby's press conference? Tate goes to the park and begs a shirtless Alex not to tell his mother about this. Alex appears to have discovered Holly and Tate's covert romantic relationship. The promo quickly returns to Nicole, who considers EJ a bastard for knowing the truth. EJ eventually loses it and throws glassware at the DiMera mansion, while Nicole stops Eric at the airport as he prepares to depart Salem. She informs him that Jude is his son. Finally, get your Kleenex ready because next week is Bill Hayes' farewell episode as Doug Williams. At the wedding, Constantine pleaded with Maggie to let him explain. Maggie silenced him and laid into Constantine for using her grief to worm his way into her life. She calmly recited his plan back to him, from his attempt to cast himself as Victor's friend to becoming her shoulder to cry on. Maggie then accused Constantine of using Victoria in his scheme. John, who held a gun on Constantine, expressed outrage that the man had deliberately kidnapped a child. An equally angry Xander threatened to kill Constantine and had to be held back by Justin. Maggie demanded to know the identity of Constantine's accomplice in the kidnapping. Teresa, who was sweating profusely, piped up and proclaimed that the person's identity did not matter. Constantine derided the gathering as a bunch of hypocrites and railed against their love of Victor, who had taken Constantine's daughter away from him. "I did get my revenge on your dearly beloved late husband," Constantine sneered to Maggie. When she asked what he had meant, Constantine declared, "I am the one who sabotaged his plane and sent him to a watery grave." Constantine smirked with satisfaction as the group wore shocked expressions. Sarah appeared and asked Xander what had happened. Maggie stepped closer to Constantine and stated her disbelief in what he had claimed. Constantine wondered if Maggie hadn't thought him smart or resourceful enough to sabotage a plane. Maggie knew Constantine was capable, as he had ordered John to kill her after the wedding. Constantine looked surprised that Maggie knew that detail. Maggie clarified that she could not believe someone as strong as Victor could have been taken down by someone as insubstantial and small-minded as you. Justin interrupted and urged Constantine to stop for Maggie's sake, while Sarah moved to Maggie's side and glared at Constantine. Maggie wanted to say her piece. She chastised herself for rolling out the welcome mat for my husband's killer. Maggie had wanted to make amends for what Victor had done to Constantine. Constantine retorted that she had tried to set him up for a crime he had not committed. Maggie responded that she had realized what had needed to be done after John and Steve had revealed the depth of Constantine's duplicity. John and Steve affirmed that Constantine would be stopped and grabbed him with the intention of taking him into custody. Maggie asked John and Steve to wait. Constantine had been the last person to see Victor alive, and he owed the people who had loved Victor the truth. Constantine warned Maggie to be careful what you wish for. Undeterred, Maggie asked Constantine to explain why he had waited so long to exact his revenge against Victor. With a smug smile, Constantine claimed it hadn't been about revenge but about giving Victor one final shot at redemption. In a flashback prior to Victor's death, Constantine and Victor sat at a restaurant table. Constantine needled Victor about Beau being in such a helpless state. Victor pushed away his food. Constantine spoke of his financial difficulties, and Victor guessed Constantine wanted to make another plea for cash. Constantine reminded Victor that Constantine's father had helped make Victor the wealthiest man in the world. Victor stressed that his good fortune was due to Constantine's father, not Constantine. Still in the flashback, Constantine asked Victor to remember everything that had been taken from Constantine because of Victor, including Constantine's wife and child. Victor called the incident with Katharina a terrible accident that I regret deeply. Constantine stressed that words were meaningless. He wanted Victor to show the depth of Victor's regret. Victor sighed and proclaimed that it was Constantine's lucky day. After Victor's visit with Beau, he had decided to draft a new will and to include Constantine. Constantine's flashback continued as a happy Constantine commended Victor's generosity. He cajoled Victor to not leave things to chance and to draft a new will immediately. Victor relented and pulled out a briefcase. Back at the wedding, Constantine halted his retelling and raged at Victor for only agreeing to reward Constantine after Victor's death. He left me no choice, Constantine defended to the gathering. He then flashed back to making a call to someone after Victor had departed the table and saying he had a job for that person. After Constantine finished his story, Justin lambasted Constantine for his inability to wait for a payoff. Constantine hissed that Victor had reneged on his promise and had never intended to put Constantine in the will. Teresa remembered when Constantine had found the will and had expressed shock that he was not in it. Constantine laughed maniacally as he mused about Victor's last thoughts and the terror the man had to have felt as he'd watched the ocean approach with the knowledge that it was over. Maggie trembled and grew tearful as Constantine continued his rant. Constantine chuckled and deemed Maggie a fool for believing in her and Victor's true love when Victor had only been concerned with his real love, money. Maggie exclaimed that Constantine did not know what was in Victor's heart. She became more agitated and collapsed in Justin's arms. Sarah and Bonnie took Maggie to her bedroom. Maggie blamed herself for succumbing to Constantine's charms. Both Bonnie and Sarah assured her that she had been grieving and that they, too, had fallen for Constantine's act. Maggie continued to call herself gullible and stupid, as she had ignored the warnings everyone had given her. She was sickened that she had invited that killer into our home. Bonnie attributed Constantine's ability to deceive Maggie to Maggie's kindness, generosity, and willingness to see the best in everyone. Maggie wanted to return downstairs and to witness Constantine being taken away. She stumbled backward, and Sarah encouraged her to stay and rest. Justin arrived and confirmed that Steve and John had the situation under control. Maggie reluctantly agreed to Sarah's suggestion that Maggie take a sedative. Meanwhile, downstairs, John once again promised that Constantine would pay. When Constantine scoffed about John's lack of involvement with the police, John clarified that Constantine was also wanted by the ISA. While Steve and John tried to restrain Constantine, he began coughing and asked for water. Teresa brought him a bottle, but he grabbed her in the process and pushed a gun into her side. Constantine declared he was leaving with his hostage. Before he left, he took a shot and then exchanged gunfire with Steve and John, while everyone else rushed for cover. Teresa shouted, "Uncle Steve," in horror as Steve crumpled to the ground. John rushed to Steve, who had a gunshot wound in his right side. The group upstairs heard the gunshots. A frightened Sarah called out for Xander. She was relieved and flew into his arms when he came through the door. Xander quickly explained what had transpired, lied that Constantine was under control, and told Sarah that Steve would be okay but that he needed her help. Justin and Bonnie convinced a concerned Maggie to stay and got her settled into bed. Maggie sobbed about how she felt that she had lost Victor all over again and bemoaned how much she missed him. Bonnie and Justin tried to soothe her and prodded her to get some sleep. After Maggie seemingly nodded off, Justin and Bonnie fretted over the day's events. Justin admitted how difficult it had been for him since Victor had died and how Victor's betrayal of him had changed the relationships Justin had believed he had with both Victor and Alex. Bonnie comforted Justin by reminding him that Alex was still his son in every way that counts. Justin lamented that while his feelings about Alex hadn't changed, Alex didn't see it the same way. Justin turned the talk back to Maggie. Both he and Bonnie pledged they would help her in any way they could. Justin drew the line at Bonnie's well-intentioned offer to set Maggie up with Bonnie's dentist, though. Bonnie agreed it probably wasn't the best time and talked about Constantine's sci-fi attempt to control John with a card. The couple decided to go downstairs and get an update while Maggie slept. When Justin and Bonnie left the room, Maggie immediately opened her eyes. She thought about the time Constantine had given her a photo album filled with old photographs of Victor. The memory brought fresh tears. Downstairs, Brady rushed to get a compress, which John applied to Steve's wound. Alex went after Constantine and Teresa, while John gave Steve's gun to Brady and instructed him to follow behind and provide Alex backup. As Steve groaned in pain, he attempted to joke with John about needing one of John's ugly shirts as a replacement and about John's old age derailing their plan. John reminded Steve it wasn't his first rodeo and assured his friend that help was on the way. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.